Picture this. You're sailing on a perfectly calm ocean or flying through a crystal clear blue sky, and then you just vanish entirely. No distress calls, zero wreckage, literally not a single trace left behind. It begs the question, where in the world do massive airplanes and colossal ships just disappear?
Well, welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving deep into the origins of one of the world's absolute most legendary oceanic enigmas. Welcome to the Bermuda Triangle, Chapter 1. For this first part, we're going to strictly explore the chilling history, those baffling disappearances, and exactly how this terrifying myth was actually born.
Okay, let's dive into this. Mapping the crime scene.
So, the Devil's Triangle. It's a loosely defined, unofficial region in the North Atlantic Ocean, roughly bounded by Miami, Bermuda, and San Juan, Puerto Rico. It's usually located right there in the western part of the North Atlantic. But here's a pretty wild fact for you. This notoriously treacherous area, it's not even officially recognized. Like if you go and ask the U.S. Board on Geographic Names, the Bermuda Triangle absolutely does not exist on any official map. Crazy, right?
Over 1,500,000. Because it's an unofficial region, the exact size kind of changes depending on who's actually telling the story. But estimates suggest it covers anywhere from 500,000 to over 1.5 million square miles of open ocean. To put that into perspective, that is a massive, massive expanse of deep, dark, and incredibly unpredictable water.
Let's move on to the victims here, the most famous vanishings.
Get this. Over the past century alone, more than 50 ships and 20 aircraft have sailed or flown straight into oblivion within these specific waters. Looking at this timeline, the weirdness actually starts way back in 1492, when Christopher Columbus himself reported seeing a strange fireball crash into the sea, along with some seriously odd compass readings. Fast forward to the 20th century and the losses get huge. In 1918, the USS Cyclops disappears. In 1921, the commercial schooner Carroll A. Deering was found totally abandoned on a shoal. There was still food on the table and only 3 cats left on board. And then, of course, there's the infamous vanishing of Flight 19 in 1945.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer magnitude of what is actually going missing here. Take that 1918 disaster. The USS Cyclops was a 542-foot U.S. Navy cargo ship. It was hauling 10,800 tons of manganese ore, along with over 300 crew members. And it just vanished completely, somewhere between Brazil and the U.S. There was no distress call, not a single piece of wreckage was ever found. Even President Woodrow Wilson was totally bewildered by it. I mean, we're talking about a massive ship, seemingly just swallowed whole by the ocean.
But the terror isn't just limited to the water. This harrowing incident from December 1945 involves Flight 19. 5 Navy torpedo bombers took off from Fort Lauderdale for just a routine training mission. Partway through, the base inexplicably loses all radio contact. All 14 airmen vanished. But here's the truly chilling part. A PBM Mariner seaplane with a 13-man crew was immediately sent out on a search and rescue mission for them. And it disappeared that exact same night. So that's 27 men and 6 aircraft just gone.
So how did this all start? Birth of a legend.
Let's move to and see how this builds. How did these isolated historical tragedies eventually coalesce into this massive global pop culture phenomenon? Well, it started slowly. In 1950, Associated Press reporter E.V. Jones first wrote about mysterious vanishings in the area. By 1952, George X. Sand wrote an article actually defining the watery triangle. But the myth really caught fire in 1964 with a feature in Argo Sea magazine. And finally, by 1974, Charles Berlitz publishes a best-selling book literally titled The Bermuda Triangle, cementing the area's terrifying reputation worldwide.
The Deadly Bermuda Triangle by Vincent Gaddis, Argosy Magazine, February 1964. The absolutely crucial point here is this exact moment in 1964. Before this, the phrase Bermuda Triangle literally did not exist. It was coined right here by American author Vincent Gaddis in his magazine article. He boldly claimed that the total number of disappearances in this area went way beyond the laws of chance, and well, that permanently etched this terrifying name into our public consciousness.
Which brings us to the supernatural suspects.
So, with the name established and the public just utterly captivated, the world needed answers. And boy, did the supernatural theories start flying. Alien abductions and UFO portals were a big one.
an idea famously amplified by Steven Spielberg's 1979 film Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Then you had people pointing to the underwater lost city of Atlantis. Some authors even proposed literal rips in the fabric of space and time, causing ships to just slip into different dimensions. And of course, you can't forget the classic, giant, mythical sea monsters dragging poor sailors down to the murky depths.
A mystery built on missing evidence. Now, you might be wondering, why on earth did anyone actually believe these wild ideas? Honestly, it boils down to this. It's a mystery built purely on a lack of hard evidence. Because so many of these ships and planes left behind absolutely zero wreckage, the whole area became a blank canvas. When there's a lack of hard scientific evidence to explain a tragedy, human imagination just takes over. Those supernatural theories felt incredibly plausible to a public that was desperately starved for answers.
Wait for Chapter 2.
So what does this all mean? Is this a demonic vortex of ghostly forces, aliens, and time warps? Or is there a shocking, rational, scientific explanation waiting just beneath the waves? Well, we've explored the terrifying history and the birth of the myth today, but the truth is definitely out there. You're going to have to wait for Chapter 2 of this explainer to discover the grounded, highly scientific truths behind this legend. Until next time, keep asking questions.